Hi everyone, my name is Claire and I'm currently a sophomore at Dickinson College. I'm the seed educator for the 2020-2021 school year, and today we're going to be learning about how a tomato ends up on your plate. So before a tomato ends up on your plate, it goes through 5 basic stages in order to get there. So first you have the seed, then it grows into a young plant, then it's going to grow into a mature plant, it's going to flower, it's going to fruit, it'll go back to the seed. So it's a never-ending circle. So first up, we're going to be talking about the first stage, which is the seed stage. So tomato seeds start out as these little itty-bitty seeds, and then they actually grow into this like ginormous plant, and ultimately that's like what creates the tomatoes. You can typically buy seeds at your local garden store, you can get them from a neighbor, you can get them from Lowe's or Home Depot. Anywhere you should be able to find tomato seeds. If you get your tomato seeds in a packet, on the back you can look at, there's going to be a little map, and you can like typically look and see like where you live and what zone you're in. So we are located in Pennsylvania, so that's going to be zone 6, and then typically I'll just tell you like if you want a summer harvest, like this is when you'll want to plant them, and I recommend following that. And normally when you plant seeds, you want to overplant, so you're going to put like a bunch of seeds in. Like if you only want like 2 tomato plants, maybe you would plant like 5 or 4 seeds, so you want to double it is like what I recommend doing, just because that way you know at least one will hopefully grow, because typically not every seed will grow, which is something that's like hard to learn. If you end up getting too many tomato plants, you can just thin them out, so you can take the small ones and like get rid of them, or you can just have a lot of tomato plants. So either is a great option. After you plant the seed, you're going to see that it's going to start to grow into a little seedling, and then slowly it's going to turn into a young plant. We're already on to stage 2 of the tomatoes, so this is the young plant stage, and the difference between this one and the seed stage or the seedling stage is that slowly you're going to start to see this thing grow bigger and bigger. It's going to be, so it's definitely going to be less than a foot tall, but it's going to have a much thicker stem. It's going to be about this big, and you're going to start to see distinct tomato leaves, and you're just going to start to see it's growing bigger. What's important during this stage is you want to make sure that the plant is getting enough sun and it's getting enough water, because this step is crucial. It has to make it past this step in order to grow the fruit and to grow bigger. We're on to stage 3, and this is the mature plant stage. So this is very similar to the young plant and the seedling, as in it's not really going to do too much. It's just going to continue to grow bigger, get a bigger stem, and it's going to have a lot more leaves and branches come off of it. And with this step, what you're going to start to see forming are flowers, which is in the 4th step. Important to continue to do during this step is to continue to water it every day and make sure that it's getting an ample amount of sunlight. This way the plant can just continue to absorb all those great nutrients in order to stay big and strong and to grow amazing tomatoes. We're on to stage 4. This is the flowering stage. This is honestly probably one of my favorite stages. These next 2 are probably my favorite parts. And I feel like they're probably everyone's favorite part, because it's when actually having a tomato plant gets fun and exciting to watch. So off of these little branches, you're going to start to see these little tiny yellow flowers like start to bloom. You're going to like start to see them, and slowly what's going to happen is you're going to see this little green bouncy ball like grow in the middle of all the petals. And do you see the baby green tomato or bouncy ball, whatever you want to refer to it as, then this is when the most exciting part happens. Now we're actually on stage 5, the 5th and final stage, and this is the fruit stage. So this is when you get to watch your little green tomato grow into this giant red tomato, and it's so fun to watch because it's just going to grow bigger, and then slowly you're going to start to see it change from green to like kind of an orangish color, and then it's going to be red. Something that's fun about tomatoes is there's no such thing as like picking it too early. If you pick it while it's green, it's gonna ripen off the vine, which means like even when you bring it inside, it's still gonna ripen on your counter. And so what you get to do during this stage, which is like my favorite thing, is you get to actually harvest the tomato that you spent all this time growing, all these months like waiting and watching and caring. You get to pick the tomato. All you're gonna do is just gently like hold it by its bottom and just kind of gently pull it off and it should come right off. So we're looking for any sign of blushing colors on these tomatoes. Any sign of orange, that's when we start picking them, because once they start to ripen, bugs and birds and other animals are gonna start coming for them. So we pick them and then we let them ripen in our barn. So now you get to enjoy your delicious tomato. It's gonna taste so good. I find that the tomatoes that you grow in your backyard or you get locally from like a farm and a farmer's market, they taste a lot better. They taste earthy. There's so many different fun things you can do with these tomatoes now. You can just eat them. You can put them on your burgers, make salsa, make tomato sauce. One of my favorite things, which I'll be showing you guys later, is how to make pico de gallo, which is probably one of my favorite things I've done this summer. We're at stage 5 and you're probably like, okay, we're done. That was 5 stages. That was all I said. But the fun thing about tomato plants is that it goes in a circle.
We're going to talk about saving seed from tomatoes. It's a very easy process, and so we want to make sure you know how to do it. The first thing you want to be sure to do is to make sure you're saving seed from an heirloom variety. Hybrid seeds do not grow true to themselves, and so you want to make sure you have an heirloom variety. So this is an heirloom variety that we grow here on the college farm. It's called Rose de Bern. And what I've done is I've cut it in half because I thought it would be interesting to see where the seeds grow. They grow inside here, and if you look really closely, the seeds are encased in a gelatinous material, which basically helps them not sprout when they are hanging out inside a tomato. If they weren't encased in that gelatinous covering, the environment inside the tomato is so moist that the seeds would be likely to sprout. So that's our biggest issue when saving seed, is to make sure we get this gelatinous cover off of the seed. So what we want to do is to squeeze the seed into a jar. So I'm squeezing the seed into the jar, and then you kind of let it sit for a couple of days. This is a jar of seeds that have been sitting for a couple of days that I just added the new seeds to. And if you look really closely, you'll see some white mold or fungus, and that's actually bacteria that's starting the fermentation process of the tomato seeds. And it's that bacteria that helps to eat away the gelatinous material that's encasing each tomato seed. So this is a closer look at the gelatinous material. That's from the new tomato seed that I just put into the jar. But these seeds on my tips of my fingers have been sitting in the jar for a couple of days and have had that bacteria kind of feeding away on the gelatinous sacs, so that the seed is now free of that gelatinous material, as you can kind of see on my finger right now. So that's what we want to save, is a true seed without any gelatinous material around it. And so the next step is to spread your seed that you want to save on an area where it can dry. Some people will rinse their seed before drying it, just to make sure any debris is off of the seed, but it's really up to you what you want to do. So you can dry it like this, and if you see the fleshy material that's still kind of hanging out with the seed over a couple of days, that will dry out, and you can easily separate the seed with your fingers. Then you want to be sure to store your seeds in a dry and dark place, so that you are sure to have seeds to plant into tomatoes for next year.
So those are the 5 steps that a tomato plant must go through in order to put the tomato on your plate. Now I'm going to be showing you one of my favorite recipes to make with tomatoes. It's pico de gallo, and I'll be showing you guys how I make that. And I made that a lot this summer. It's like one of my favorite things to actually make, because it's really fun, I think, to cut up all the vegetables, and I really like to use the tomatoes that I grew, and just to know that, like, I know where they've been. They started out as seed and now they're just here. The ingredients you're gonna need is you're gonna need 6 Roma tomatoes. I prefer to use the Roma type. I just think they kind of work better. You're gonna need half of a red onion, 1 lime, some jalapeno, about half, and then some cilantro. All you really have to do for this recipe, which is so nice, it's so simple, is cut up all the fruits and vegetables. So just make sure you're around a parent or guardian, someone that can watch you while you use the knife. So we're just gonna chop it up. So after you chop up anything or everything, you're just gonna put it into a container. Very, very simple. So now that you're done cutting up the tomatoes, you can cut up whatever you want to cut up next. So I'm going to choose the onion. So you're going to put in half an onion in. This part always makes me cry, so be careful. Then, same as with the tomatoes, when you're done with it, you're just going to put it right into your container. Next up is the jalapeno. I typically choose to do about half of the jalapeno to 3/4 because I don't want to make it too spicy, but I like to have a little bit of a kick. And then you're just going to place this also in it. And the next ingredient is cilantro. So this is kind of just up to your taste. I just like say do a bunch because I really like cilantro, but I know some people hate cilantro, so you can leave it out or put in a little. All is up to you, but I typically just kind of do a bunch. Then same as always, just gonna slap it. Then finally I do 1 squeezed lime. Now I just take a giant fork and I kind of like try and mix it all around. And then one thing I like to add to my pico de gallo is I like to add some salt. This part is optional, you can add it or you can choose not to, but mix it together again. Now you can just take your chips and you can enjoy your amazing pico de gallo that you just made. It's so yummy, it's so easy to make. The hardest part is just chopping everything up, but if you do it with your parents or your guardian or whoever, it's a really fun thing to do and it makes for a really yummy snack. So you just scoop it up. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about how a tomato is grown and how it ends up on your plate. And I hope you guys try making the pico de gallo, and thank you. Bye.